Hi everyone, I am here in Phoenix, Arizona with Monica Torres, who at first glance would seem like a very different funeral director and mortician than I am. I'm more of the natural body, put it in the dirt, growing a tree, whereas you are.
I'm a reconstructive specialist and also a desairologist.
Desairology, most people have no idea what that is.
Even funeral directors.
Yeah, even funeral directors.
I like to basically describe desairology as the perfect marriage of embalming and cosmetology.
So you all, I know, are fascinated by what Monica does. I am fascinated by what Monica does. And I think at the end of the day, what makes us really similar practitioners is that we are both most interested in getting the family in the room with the body, however that can happen.
Absolutely.
Can I just get a full-time job as a makeup artist to the dead?
Unfortunately, it's not really very realistic. I don't want to tell people that that's not a possibility. Obviously, you can do anything you want and put your heart into.
Except this thing.
Except this thing.
I'm a dream squasher too when it comes to this.
Working with mortuary cosmetics is very different than working with everyday makeup.
How do you become the best mortuary makeup artist you can be?
I did have a background doing makeup on the living before I transitioned to doing makeup on the dead. And when I made that transition, I noticed in the prep rooms that I was working in is that they didn't really have the tools that I wanted to use, that I was used to using. For example, this is a traditional mortuary makeup brush. These are brushes that pretty much every mortician has in their prep room, whereas these two brushes are not. These are used for professional makeup on the living. And I like to blend the two.
I have never used Airbrush mortuary makeup before. Big reveal. Look like the puffy paints that we used to decorate our shirts with.
Basically, you're just gonna take not a lot, and 2, 3, 4, 5 drops does it. That will cover half a face. And I always like to point this out to my students too, is that, you know, your skin is gonna be different when you're dead. So you wanna make sure that you spread that skin as much as you can. And then you're going to just give some passes. Typically, airbrush makeup is used for intense camouflage. So if somebody is highly discolored, that's when I reach for my airbrush. I don't typically use this on everyday cases. You're working on a really difficult case where half of the face has a really traumatic injury, and you're using wax and other products, silicone, to make that person look natural. This is a go-to for many, many professional embalmers.
Well, it's covered up the blue glove. It
And
now is skin tone.
And typically I put a white underneath so you can even get a better effect from it.
The white kind of cancels out the discoloration.
It's like a canvas.
It's like how you put like green or yellow to cover bags on your eyes, and then you put the actual concealer on top.
Exactly, that's the exact, it's the concept.
This is Debbie, our dearly departed, and we thought at the last minute that maybe I should get on the table and take off my makeup and be full mortuary dummy, but we're gonna go with Debbie today. But if you wanna see that, maybe I'll fly back to Phoenix and we'll do this again.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know, yeah, only if this video gets, I don't even know how many likes my videos get. If this video gets 50,000 likes.
50,000? I thought you were gonna say 5.
No, 50,000. How badly do you want to see me?
I'm gonna pretend that Deborah has already been embalmed, or not embalmed, either one. Possibly she was ill for a while, and you can see she has her hair grown out, which is something that, you know, a cosmetologist would notice.
And all her shady friends would notice too.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
comment on it.
One thing that I try to teach my embalmers when they're embalming is to actually comb the hair forward, because the hair, much like the rest of our body, is protein. Formaldehyde coagulates protein. So what we want to do is we kind of want to embalm that hair follicle facing forward. So when that person's laying in their casket, their hair will not be flat back on the pillow. And we're giving her some highlights too, right? So we can do low lights and
You don't ever just like spray the head like a Just for Men commercial.
Correct. I'm trying to use the most professional techniques that I know how. Typically your hairstylist is gonna try and give you some, yeah, she's gonna try and give you some dimension, and that's what I'm trying to offer here for Debbie so that it looks most natural. Try it out and see. That's how you learn, right? You learn by, in this business, you learn by sometimes the mistakes that we make and the things that we say, you know, I wish I would have done that a little differently. There you go. Yeah.
A little on her face there. In no situation should you spit on the decedent and wipe it off with your thumb. That's not
okay.
No, we did not teach you to do that.
If you want to take that hair and you do a little part section right here, right? And you're gonna pull this down here, and you're gonna work in, less is more. As with mortuary makeup, less is always more.
Spray this.
You hold it right at the end there, and then you'll just do about 4 or 5 inches away. Yep.
Oh God, I got her in the face again. Oh, Debbie, I'm so sorry. Debbie. Debbie, I'm not used to spray color. I'm sorry. Debbie, you deserve so much more dignity than this.
Awesome thing about this hair color, you're gonna love this in your prepper, by the way, is that it's water-based, so you're not married to it. Right. Say like you're doing a hairstyle and you're like, oh my gosh, this is totally the wrong color. All you have to do is wash it out.
A question that I get a lot from funeral industry people is, oh, so you promote no embalming? What if someone is shot in the head? And I'm like, guys, not every, and I say guys because it's usually guys, not everyone is shot in the head. Like, that's a very rare case, and that's why we should have people like you who are capable of being experts to come in and do that kind of restorative work. The average body doesn't have half of their head missing.
But for those that do, because there are those that do, unfortunately, whatever the case may be, whether they fell from a building or they died from a work-related injury on a work site, these things do happen. It's part of our reality in life and death. These are tools that are used on special cases, hard cases, where somebody has suffered a very, very traumatic death. I use my drill to put the skull back together properly. And this product here, which is plastina.
What would you use this for?
Basically to recreate the face. If the facial bones are missing, I will actually recreate the person's skull along with the use of the molding clay.
I think people don't necessarily understand, like with a suicide wound to the head or something, how completely violent and destructive it can be.
The average embalmer is not equipped to handle a case like that. There's specialized training that goes into learning how to do these techniques, and part of it is reconstructing the skull itself.
Yeah, because the skull is the frame on which everything on the face rests.
Yes. And
so if half of it is missing,
you have to build it.
Good. You would reconstruct the skull with this molding, and then you would reconstruct the skin with mortuary wax.
Yes, and we also use other products such as plaster of Paris to create a base for the skull as well.
What is this guy here? This looks like a foot loofah.
It does, and it's actually one of my most favorite and useful tools. This tool is used to sculpt plaster of Paris. So if someone is missing a portion of their skull, I can go in and fill that area with plaster of Paris, and to get a nice soft look like an actual skull, I use this tool to shape the plaster of Paris and get rid of the imperfections.
Another problem that we have with Debbie is that she has a little bit of jaundice, she has a little bit of livor mortis or postmortem staining, a little bit of decomposition, some things on her hands that are not going to look as nice as they could for her viewing. So Monica is going to show us what you could do to make her hands a little less like a bog creature. What I call this is hard case camouflage, and it's a mortuary magic technique that I use. It's also what I like to consider Desairology, because it uses traditional mortuary high pigment makeup and also trendy mineral makeup, which many women
are using nowadays.
That's what
It's
I use.
natural. Yeah, that's what I use too. And you can see that this makeup is very high pigmented. It's an oil-based makeup. What I'm doing by placing this on my hand is I'm warming the makeup. Then I'm gonna take my horsehair brush. The funeral director's job is to basically conceal this type of discoloration for the family.
So now you're going into the second step, which is the normal mineral powder.
And you can see that there's a total coverage. And this can be done on the hands or face or really any part of the body.
How do you control for skin tone?
I color match the same way that, you know, as women we go to the makeup counter. That's the same thing that I do with the deceased. I have a variety of different color tones, and I'll just try to match that color. Every dead person is an individual, and by the way they do their hair, the way they do their nails, by the clothing they wear, the way they wear their makeup or choose not to wear makeup, that's an expression of their individuality. And then when you go to put that mineral makeup, the trick to that is to, you get a little on your brush, and you're gonna see how it's gonna tap right there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you kind of feather it in circular motion. So you wanna tap the makeup on first. Yep, and then you circle it. Just very lightly feather it on there. Yep.
I want to be clear that we don't usually chop the hand off before we make up and restore it. Thank you, Monica, and thank you, Debbie. I think we've shown people today that even though we are from two different worlds, we can still come together to show you that you have options when it comes to how you want to have your viewing, how you want to have your funeral, your corpse, your choice. This video was made with generous donations from death enthusiasts just like you. Oh, Debbie, I'm so sorry. Debbie, I'm not used to spray color. I'm sorry.